I am going to teach you about the controllable properties of light. I see that someone is joining me. I think it might be Aiden. Hi, Aiden. Anyway, the first controllable property of light is intensity, and it is variable. It can go from full dark to full light, also known as blackout and full lights. How does intensity affect you, or how does it affect the audience? It can affect the mood. It can be sad, scary, romantic, high energy, or dreamlike. This is all very creative, so let your imagination go with this assignment. It can affect the visibility, and it can be selective visibility. In other words, we can dim the lights on the whole stage except for one area where we put a special light on an actor, or maybe we dim the light so that a gobo would show up nicely, and that's also a special, so selective visibility. We can also backlight actors so that their silhouettes show. It can affect the energy on the stage, so high energy for things like musicals would be brighter intensity, or like dimmer would be a more somber scene or a more serious scene. It can also affect the time of day or the season. So it can show morning time or evening time, depending on how bright or dim the lights are. So intensity is how bright or dim, okay? High intensity, medium intensity, low intensity. It can also indicate the place. So for example, if you have different areas that you need to show on one stage, you can show, like, for example, a child's bedroom at down left. You can show a doctor's office at center stage, and then at down right, you could show maybe a dining room. And you would light those areas and dim the rest of the stage, or black out the rest of the stage, to show the audience that you are indeed at the dining room table. Or you could take that light out and bring up the one at the doctor's office, and that would show the audience that you're at the doctor's office. Or you could bring the one up on the child's bedroom, and that would obviously show the audience that you are in the child's bedroom. So we can show the audience different where we want them to think we are or know that we are during the play by using different areas of the stage and the intensity of the light. So color is our second controllable property of light. Color, the saturation of color, can change the mood. Intensity of color changes with the saturation. Less intense colors use a tint, like instead of a bright blue, you could tint that with a green and get an aqua. We did that on the psych the other day. You can get pink by, I don't remember how to get pink, but anyway, I think it's obviously red, and you just lessen the intensity of the red to get pink. We might have to ask Grace about that. But anyway, you can get orange by combining green and red light and pulling back on the intensity. If you want it more orange, you could add more red. If you wanted it more on the green side or more yellowish orange, you could intensify the green. So just tinting lights to make different colors makes it less intense, okay? So a really intense color of red would be the reds all the way up so that it's a dark red. So that would be the intensity. Why do we need to worry about colored lighting in the theater? What's the big deal? Why don't we just turn the lights on to full and black out when the show is over? Because that, my friends, is utterly boring, and no good director will allow it. What do colors typically do to the audience? Or better yet, how does it make them feel? Color and emotion. Every color has some kind of emotion tied to it, and color is just one way that we can express mood with stage lighting. I've listed below the general moods and feelings that tend to go with these basic colors. So red typically means anger, jealousy, or fear. Pink means love, or it can also make the scene light and airy. Yellow is poppy. I don't know what that really means as far as mood, but or bright and happy. Amber can mean awakening or rootsy and raw. Green is also rootsy, organic, calming, and earthy. So if a character is very earthy or down to earth or a calming character in the show, maybe we would dress that character in green. Or if we wanted the scene to be calming or organic or earthy, say like they're outside, we may put some green light on that. Or wash the stage with green or make some shadows with green. Aqua is gentle, means gentle, simple, and water. So we can get the idea of water. Blue is also water. It can also indicate nighttime, and it can make the scene calm, or it can also make it sullen, which means sad. White is open, raw, unfiltered, and to me it means innocence or purity. Oftentimes when there are characters in a show that are not real people, maybe they're ghosts, or in the case of Sweet Nothing in My Ear 2 years ago, we had voices that were really part of a deaf character or a character in the show that was doing American Sign Language, and they had voices, so I wanted to dress them in white because to me they were ethereal in a sense, and innocent in the whole play. So number 3 is distribution. That is now pay attention, the angle of the light hitting the object. The direction, in other words, the direction the light is coming from. So it's hitting the object from a direction. How the light is shaping the person or object. So I'm going to try and show you an example of that. So let's talk about this light here. So you see that it's really highly intense here. And then as it goes out, it gets less intense and more diffused. So let's just see what I put on distribution. The light is coming from the lamps and moving outward. So it's coming from the lamp and moving outward. That's the distribution of the light. Okay? So let's try to find another one here. Distribution. Light, where's the light coming from? That's what distribution means. It can be confusing. So just remember when you get confused to take a look at this example that I've attached to your Empower this week. And if I can remember, I will attach it to all of your assignments for this journal in the weeks ahead. Distribution, the light is coming from above, angling in from the back of this picture. So how do I know that? I know that because right here, there are no shadows. Okay, so it's angling from above and coming down on it, right? Because right here, it's angling from this side, from the back of the picture, and angling down. There are no shadows, so if it were coming from the front, this part, this shadowy part, with the hints of light, the light coming through the leaves, would be over here, but it's not. This is very bright. So look at the shadows and determine what angle the light is coming from. Okay? Cool. All right, let's go back to here, I believe. Okay. So it's how the light is shaping the person or object. So let's go back to the tree. So we see that it's shaping the tree by, it's really accentuating these parts, like the branches and the leaves, more than it is this part. As you can see, this part, the trunk is hardly visible. So you know that the light is really intensifying and shaping this part of the object. Okay, so and you can also see how it's making these shapes here with shadow and light. So it's diffusing it through the tree, almost like a gobo, like what we did last week. Let's go back. Okay. Movement. Movement is following an actor with light. For example, the follow spot that we saw in class last week. If you weren't in class, it is just how we move the light with the actors on the stage, and perhaps we can show you that, or I can upload a video for you to see that. It can also be one light coming up as another light fades, also known as a crossfade. So it's how you direct the eye of the audience. That is the key of movement of light. So if you're spotlighting someone, obviously the audience is going to follow that light with their eyes and follow the actor with their eyes. If you're crossfading, they're going to be looking where the light is up on the actor, and then when it crossfades to another actor, they'll look at that actor. So it directs the eye of the audience. That's easy. Okay? And it also dictates how the audience sees the scene. So the light technician is a pretty powerful person in the theater. Also dimming the light, so having it come up or down, is movement. So that's something to think about creatively as we're experimenting with light design. For the kids at home, the movement in your pictures, you will, and actually everybody for this assignment, because they're still pictures, you will address how the light where the light makes you look first and then next. Okay, so I will talk about how you will identify movement when I show you an example. Okay, so let's look here. Well, in this picture, my eye is drawn from the ground up to the tree. So the first thing that when I saw this originally, and it's just your individual self, what you see. So for movement for this one, I said there is movement in the breakup of the light on the ground caused by the leaves and branches of the tree, which draws my eye from the ground, from those shadows and light, from the ground up to the tree. So for me, this part was interesting to me, so I looked at that, and then I looked up to the tree. Just naturally, that's what happened. Okay, so that's how it drew my eye. Let's see. So let's see what I put for movement on this one. As I'm looking at this, the very first thing I look at is this. Then the next thing I look at are these lines here. So I don't remember what I put, and then maybe the people. My eye is drawn to the blue wall. So in this particular case, it was drawn to the blue wall. And the bulb, as the light spreads out into the unique texture of the wall and bulb to create shapes that are interesting and eye-catching. The bulb is great and lends to the festive atmosphere in the restaurant. It provides a lot of movement as it reflects the movement colors of the environment. So my eye is drawn to the blue wall and the bulb. Okay, so it's drawn to here, and this is what I meant by the bulb. Okay, so these are the lights, but my eyes are drawn to these things. So it made this wall much more interesting than a regular old blue wall. Okay, so this was really interesting, and then it's drawn to here. Okay, so where does the light distribution is where it's coming from, the angle it's coming from. Color, this would be a white. Intensity would be bright, high intensity. And then movement would be from the wall to the bulb to the rest of the room. That's where my eye is drawn to. Let's look at another one for movement. Okay, so movement. Let's take a look at this picture. Where do you look first? For me, I look here at the bottom part, and then I move up to see what this thing is. Okay, so the light moves from the liquid in the bottle from the bottom to the top. The light gives the bottle an amber glow, making it inviting or awakening, like we saw. The lighting designer is using the juxtaposition to lure people to drink this tequila. Kind of like the candle that gives a soft, soothing light, but will burn you if you touch it. So you see how I used an metaphor there? So let's move into color. It's a yellow light. Intensity is medium. Distribution. Light is coming from the bottom of the bottles and is angled up. Texture is broken up with soft edges. So just took you through those really quickly, even though we haven't covered them. Okay, so let's go back. So that's movement, where your eye goes first and then next. Texture, how we talk about the beam itself. Here's the lingo and what it means. There's a lingo to this. Flat means that the light is very evenly dispersed. There is no diffusion, which means breakup of the light. So this is like the light in a classroom. It's just flat. There's no shadowy things going on or anything in front of the light to diffuse it, like a gel or a gobo, or like in that tree, those leaves and branches, that was diffusing that light. Okay. On the other side of that tree, where there was just a flat field of light, that's flat light. Cool? All right, so diffuse light is broken up or diffracted. That's what we just said. Diffracted is defined as a process by which light waves break up into dark and light bands or into colors of the spectrum. Light passes through a narrow opening. For example, light passes through a narrow opening in the blinds of your window at home. It causes the light to be diffracted, producing light and dark shadows and patterns to fall across the wall or floor. So you can try that at home. Just open up the blinds a little bit when it's really bright outside, and just instead of looking at the light, look at the shadows that are on the floor or on the wall. Okay? So that's a really good example of what a gobo does. On stage, a gobo can break up or diffuse the light into shapes. Gels and diffusers, which are also gels, can diffuse light or make the light beam a color. Here is a super cool link to the basics of using a gobo. Pay attention to the shapes and colors in this video. I especially like the glass gobo. So I've attached this document to your assignments. You can click on this when you have time. Okay, it's really a pretty cool thing. But in the interest of time, I'm going to just keep going with this lesson. So soft and sharp edges. Look at the edges of the light. Is the edge sharp or soft? Note to self, explain this in examples of your assignment. Okay, so sharp and soft edges. So let me see the edges of this light. That's debatable. They're kind of soft and sharp. So let's go to the edges of this light on my friend Sarah May. So they're diffused, so they're soft, right? So texture, diffused with soft edges. Diffused with soft edges. Let's see. Texture, flat field of light with soft edges, although there is a sharp shadow cast by the door at the center of the picture. Interesting. See this sharp edge right here? So you have to be very observant. There's a sharp edge right here. But the rest of these edges on the light are pretty diffused. Maybe that's a little sharp. Let's go to another one. Broken, the texture is broken and contained with a short throw onto the wall from the back. So I was really looking at this. So this light is contained. That's just how I wanted to describe it. So the edges are broken up. There is one in here that I wanted you to see. So these edges are diffused. See how they're not sharp? They're soft. That means that they're diffused. So some of the light is flat and some is diffused by the surface it is hitting. So this has no breakup of the light. So these lights are just hitting that. That's flat. Here is a sharp edge. Do you see the sharp edge on here? That's because there's no diffusion from here. That's why this shadow from this table creates this sharp line. Okay? Let me show you a really sharp one. There's one in here. Okay. So this is a really boring picture, but I wanted to get a flat field with hard edges in my journal. So this is the dorm room that I stayed in while I was in graduate school. Fun times. So this is a very sharp edge, right? Very sharp. This is slightly diffused, slightly, but in this picture, flat field with hard edges, okay? Very flat. Okay, let's go back. Okay, so you will do 3 pictures a week. Okay, so you'll take pictures of the things that you see around you, and you have to read the directions on the assignment. Each of you will record your journals on the Google slide presentation that I have attached to Empower-Controllable Properties of Light journal. After you complete your 3 journal entries for the week, make a copy so it will save to your drive. This way you can add to your journal each week without losing the previous week's entry. So each week after you add to it, make a copy before you, so that you have another copy of it in your drive. So you can use that one to continue, okay? Okay, so this journal will be ongoing and it may extend into other theatrical design areas such as costume, makeup, sound design, etc. There is an example of lighting. So I attached the example that I've been showing you to your Empower this week. So if you get confused about how to describe the properties of light, refer to the example journal, the one that I did for you, okay? So only do 3 entries per week. Do not try to do all 15 at once. I want you to grow as a designer during this process. I want to be able to guide you through when things are not clear for you. Okay, so you're probably not going to get this exactly right the first time around, but that is what this is for, so that we can talk about it and we can clarify as we go. So this journal will count as part of your semester exam grade for all students, both online and in person.